Hello, and welcome to Bosch Technology Talks. Thank you for joining us. My name is Ann Intro, and I'll be the moderator for today's webinar. Today, Matt Cirnigliaro, Application Design Specialist, and Robert Haase, Video Systems Senior Product Manager, will discuss the importance of remote device management in the age of IoT.
Thank you very much, Ann, and welcome everybody. Thank you for taking a little bit of time to hang out with us this afternoon. We're going to try something a little bit different today. I have been so impressed, not just with Bosch, but around the industry, some of the virtual content that has been developed while we're all locked in our home offices dealing with the COVID pandemic. But one of the things that I feel like has been lost a little bit is the simple conference table discussions or discussions that we've had over lunch for years in our industry that we don't get to do as often or at all anymore. So today we wanted to kind of have one of those open dialogues, a discussion about remote device management and IoT devices where it pertains to security, which is a big topic these days. And we're really excited to have Robert Haase, Senior Product Manager for Bosch, with us today to talk about some of those things. So Robert, welcome.
Thank you, Matt. And thank you, Ann.
Our pleasure. I think where I'd like to start is we have all of these connected devices in our lives, in other facets of our lives, but video surveillance, this is an industry that's come from CCTV, closed circuit television. So the concept of connecting these devices is maybe foreign to some folks in the industry. So let's start with a simple question. What do you mean by a connected device?
A connected device, I guess in the first place for me, it is a device that has some sort of connectivity, as the name implies. So there's probably some cloud backend involved, and the device gets information from that cloud backend or vice versa. You can control that device from remote. And I think, looking at what we all mostly have in our pockets, connected devices are an essential part of our lives these days. In our private lives with the smartphone that I just showed, but even as you could see on the slide at the beginning, cars are connected devices these days, and pretty much everything is going to be connected in the future. And that's also the trend essentially that we see in our industry, and all the benefits that we are so totally used to already in our daily lives are slowly transitioning into our industry as well.
Fantastic. That's a great lead in. Can you speak to what are some of those benefits? What will we see by connecting these devices and getting out of the stone age of closed circuit television?
Okay, yeah. From my very personal perspective, I'm benefiting from these benefits right now as we speak, because due to the COVID pandemic, I've been working from home since March, essentially. Yeah, I've been back to the office a few times. And so I'm actually dialing in right now from Munich, Germany, and my office is 100 miles away. So I usually commute by train, which I haven't done since March. And for testing our solutions and our software, our latest firmware, I have no single camera at home with me right now. So all of my devices are back in the office. They're connected to our remote portal, and I simply, I access them from here, from home, and I can do pretty much everything I need to do.
That's fantastic, and a great example of some of the benefits that we're going to get out of these connected devices. So you mentioned, obviously, the COVID-19 pandemic is at the forefront of everybody's minds. We've all been dealing with this since March. It's forced a lot of industries, ours included, to get better at doing things remotely, and almost sort of fast forwarded the technology, I think, in some ways, because we had to get better at it really quickly. You mentioned how you're managing some of your devices and testing from your home office, even though you don't have the cameras there. Can you give some examples of a few of the specific tasks that have traditionally been completed on site that you can now do remotely?
Yeah, sure. Whatever I just mentioned now, of course, also applies to use cases or challenges that we see in our industry and what our customers face every day. For example, I mean, if there's a new update that you have to roll out, you don't have to go on site anymore. You can simply do that from remote, which saves you all that time of actually on traveling there on the road, or maybe facing some challenge that you could have seen up front and not having the right equipment with you. So you have to go back and you have to return on site at a later point in time. So those would be great examples. And I mean, if you take into account that you have multiple dispersed sites that you have to take care of and that you have to maintain, I mean, that time that you spend on that is immense. It's huge. So yeah, there's lots of things. I mean, you can check if everything is still working fine. You have the latest status information of your devices. You can see if they're still doing what they're supposed to do. And yeah, and all these maintenance tasks mainly that can simply be done from remote. That's now possible.
So, and unlike VPN access, which some of our attendees might be familiar with, you can do all this without having access to other parts of the network, correct?
Right, exactly. So, I mean, the device just needs pretty much an internet connection, and that's all you need. And then also in terms of staying secure, the device is pretty much not at first not visible to the outside world, so it's blocked by your router just normally as you have it at home. And it's the device essentially, once you decide to connect it to the back end, that initiates the connection. And then it also makes sure that it only talks to the Bosch backend to create an encrypted connection in the end of the day, which is secure and you can rely on.
Yeah, that's a key point. I'm seeing so often companies that are reliant on VPN connectivity, and while that's a solution, it takes a lot of setup time, and B, they're hesitant to let outside entities, such as a security integrator, access their whole network via VPN. And then there's additional configuration to partition that network off so that the VPN only has access to their systems, whereas connecting through the remote portal solves all of that. They have access to the devices that they need without having access to a bunch of other things on the customer's network that their IT department then has to worry about.
Correct, yeah.
So I think the question on a lot of people's minds, certainly mine when I first started working with connected devices a few years ago, is the simple question: if my device is connected, if it can see the internet, isn't it more susceptible to unauthorized access?
Yeah, I mean that's a valid question, but I mean I can assure you, of course, we wouldn't be offering these services and these solutions if we weren't sure that they're secure. And I think that the answer to it is essentially twofold. On the one hand, there we have our processes on how we develop our products. So we have our security engineering process, which is a mandatory way of working based on international standards. So every product, every software, firmware, or even hardware that we release is going through these quality gates where every time is checked that we're living up to the latest security standards. And beyond that, I mean, all of our solutions for software firmware is penetration tested by external security researchers before we release. And if there's any findings, we obviously address them. And we also have an entire dedicated department at Bosch, which is scanning the outside world, let's say, for security advisories. So if anything pops up, for components maybe that we use from a third party, that we are aware of that early on and we can assess and act upon. So that's the one. That's just simply the quality assurance we have at doing our work and developing our products. And on the other hand, I mean, there's just the technology aspect to it. I mean, we're just making use of the latest technology. We're using the latest encryption standards. We have dedicated hardware on every our cameras to securely store cryptographic keys, which are pretty much the basis essentially for the encryption later on. And making use of state-of-the-art technology in the end of the day, which we also, I mean, as I was showing our phone, which is used everywhere. And I mean, we are leveraging all that experience also we have in the Bosch group, as you were seeing the cars earlier, et cetera. So all these other domains and that expertise is shared within our company.
I think that's an excellent point, and I'll elaborate on that a little bit, because one thing I've noticed in having these discussions out in the field is that there's a little inconsistency in people's fear of this technology, and that they're very hesitant sometimes to put a camera connected to the remote portal, but at the same time will happily access their bank account from their phone. And this is actually all the same technology that secures both of those processes. So this isn't something that should really feel new and foreign to folks. Maybe it's new from the perspective of video surveillance, but it's certainly technology that we trust in other parts of our lives. And it's good to hear that Bosch is abiding by those industry standards and making use of all of that discovery and technology that's been had to this point. Let me follow up on the cybersecurity piece with you, because one of the things that I experience in the field is, in the course of solving physical security problems, sometimes we accidentally create cybersecurity problems. So could this go the other way? Are there opportunities to make our system more secure by having connected devices?
Yeah, so I mean, in the future, we foresee that a connected device, or even now, a connected device is actually a more secure device, because if you keep your devices up to date, you're less susceptible to any attack. So because with every new release that we have, we're introducing the latest security measures. So actually being connected makes it more secure, and also the way our devices connect to the backend. I briefly touched upon it, but essentially it's a single connection between the device and the backend, which is mutually authenticated. So the device is built in the factory with a manufacturer certificate. So the cloud always knows that this is a Bosch device, and that's a unique Bosch device which is now trying to contact me. And vice versa, the device verifies that it's actually talking to the Bosch backend. So no one can get in between, and that's nothing you can imitate. So these two parties trust each other, and then it's all encrypted. And the same is true for our clients that we use. So with the remote portal, you also have the option to access your devices from remote using the config manager or the project assistant or video security app. And the same security mechanisms are in place as well for all these tools and software products that we have.
That's fantastic. For the audience here, I just want to highlight something that Robert just pointed out, that in that device authentication process, that is an outbound connection. The Bosch device has to contact the portal initially. There's no sort of phone home mechanism where the portal can reach out devices without being solicited by the device initially, which is a little bit different than a lot different, I should say, than some of the products who have had cybersecurity challenges in our industry over the past few years. You mentioned Project Assistant, Configuration Manager, and some of these maintenance tools that we use. And I just wanted to highlight a case study we did here in the States, in North Carolina, where utilization of Project Assistant for commissioning cameras and connecting them to the remote portal. The integrator realized a 30% savings in commissioning time by being able to A, commission the cameras quickly, and then B, hand them off via the remote portal, via that connectivity, to the more skilled technicians that didn't have to be on site anymore. And 30% is a very real number in terms of labor savings that they were able to realize out of this. So just case in point of all the things that you've just described. I want to shift gears just a little bit. There's been a lot of industry buzz. I'm hoping most of our attendees have heard of Bosch's Intiox platform, our new open camera platform that in a lot of ways is turning cameras into more than cameras, computers with lenses, and the ability to move a lot of processing that is historically done server side out to the edge. And we're really excited about this. There's a lot of buzz about the platform. how does INEOX fit into Bosch's connected device environment?
Yeah, it will essentially seamlessly integrate. So whatever I just said, what is already possible now with remote portal connectivity, we've had that. We actually support that since firmware version 640 for our cameras, and INTEOX will integrate, yeah, just as the other cameras have in the past. So you can access them from your config manager from remote. Project Assistant, as I said, and Video Security app, all of that will work the same way. And beyond that, you can also integrate these devices into the security and safety things ecosystem. So where you could get additional functionality in the form of apps to tailor the capabilities of your camera to specific use cases. And that's a whole new world that is going to open up for us. And as Matt was saying, having this, I mean, we've had analytics on our cameras for a long time now, but this is now the next level in terms of having AI-based analytics on these cameras as well. And this also offers to our customers completely new opportunities to offer tailored solutions to their customers.
It's a really exciting time to be in our industry for that reason, and this open platform in the SNST ecosystem is going to drive, I think, new development and new advances in our industry over the next couple of years that we haven't even thought of yet. It's super exciting. I don't want to harp too much on the cybersecurity piece, but I know that's a big. If anybody has sort of a knee-jerk reaction to connected devices, often that's the basis. So. Again, talking about INEOX, you mentioned the App Store ecosystem for security and safety things. Will these new devices be harder to secure with all their additional capabilities?
That's a good question. Actually, I would say it makes it. It's different, but I would actually say it's easier because the new platform will or allows us, based on its architecture, to have a more modular concept. So you have these puzzle pieces that you pretty much get to put together. And in terms of securing them, it's much easier because you have these distinct puzzle pieces and modules that can be checked and secured independently from one another. Because in the past, or for what we had, was this big integrated code base. And whenever you made a change to something, you needed to be sure what the side effects were to the rest of the system. And with that modular approach of having apps, for example, it's much easier because you have standardized interfaces, for example, and the apps are operating in a sandboxed environment where they can't get out. So you give them the privileges that you want them to have, but not more than that, so they cannot mess with the rest of the system. So that's one aspect to it. And due to the fact that you have these modules, it's also easier to update. So it allows us to have more frequent updates because we're sure that taking this puzzle piece out and updating it is not going to affect the rest of the system. And so you're also sure if there's the latest security patch in the operating system, for example, it's not going to affect any of the camera functionality itself. So we're also much more flexible when it comes to that.
Wow, that's a really interesting perspective. So in a lot of ways, this new technology will allow us to secure our cameras and using many of the same techniques we use for our PCs and our Macs already.
Exactly, yeah.
Fantastic. So again, shifting gears just a little bit, one of the things I've heard in the field quite a bit, especially because everybody's a little bit in limbo, not knowing what's going to happen with the pandemic, is it's hard to find skilled labor. It's hard to find skilled technicians to work out in the field. So is there a way that we can utilize this technology to sort of ease that squeeze, if you will, and make it easier to deploy assets?
Yeah, so I think you briefly touched on it with that one customer you were mentioning. So because we extended the project assistant this year such that you can already register your devices in the remote portal during the commissioning phase, you have this opportunity to hand it off to someone else to continue the work. So if you have Yeah, as you said, I think less experienced technicians, they might be doing the work on site. And the very knowledgeable, experienced veterans, they can be pretty much sitting anywhere in the world, and they can take over the work from there and pretty much make you have more flexibility in having the right people in the right place at the right time, even if it's just virtually. And you can be much more effective if you just, you don't have this know-how all over the place.
Yeah, you can always have the right person in the right place. That's fantastic. One of the things I also see out in the field regularly is, and it's not even just limited to Bosch, but we have these amazingly capable devices and software platforms and all kinds of phenomenal technology in our industry. And I think partly because of having a hard time finding skilled labor, it doesn't get utilized to its maximum capability. I mean, it's common to see these amazing video management systems that only are 10% or 15% utilized just because they're maybe the end user or the installer doesn't know how to leverage all of those features. So that's a long-winded way of asking you, can we also utilize this technology to help maximize some of the capabilities in these new devices?
Yeah, I would think so. At least that's definitely something we're striving for, because just having this remote connectivity or remote access opportunity, that's just one aspect to it. But what we think is also possible and what we're working on right now is to actually tackle these time-consuming repetitive tasks like an update deployment. That can be, I mean, that can be done by some service automatically, essentially. So you can just define what you want your system, what your desired state is. So what do you want your system to update to? And then some service can do that for you, and which actually frees up your time to spend on more value-adding activities. And even if you are on site, that actually gives you the chance to have more face time with your customer and actually discuss more what additional challenges they have. And remote device management is just one aspect to it. And as we mentioned, Inteox, with all the opportunities which come in that regard, but also maybe other services like our video security client, you could offer additional professional services essentially to your end customers, like, hey, we have this video security app. Why don't you, do you want to watch your video from remote? If you're at home, maybe you want to check what's going on, or maybe you want to manage your alarms because our intelligent video analytics has triggered an alarm at night. So those are some of these services we have right now, which you could offer to your customers, but others maybe you can build yourself as well based on the open platform concept of Inteox. But there's this whole new world of additional services that your customers, our customers, the end customers can benefit from in the end of the day, which we haven't tapped into right now.
Yeah, that services piece is really what I was drilling in on. Even I've noticed just since we've been doing this in the last few months that I am able to help customers more seamlessly because we can be looking at the same things. And, if I can service my customers better and they can service theirs better because of our ability to be connected, everybody wins. The end user wins, the installer wins, Bosch wins. It's truly mutually beneficial. We've covered a lot of ground today. I can't thank you enough for joining us and sharing your insights. We've covered remote device management, why it's not only beneficial but essential from a security perspective. Our new open platform, Inteox, is on the horizon, and it's an exciting time to be in the industry. Remote portal connectivity, of course, has been around for Bosch for a couple of years, but we've sort of fast forwarded some of that for our customers because of the market conditions today. Just a lot of great conversation, which is exactly what we aim for. So we thank you for that. With that, I think I'll turn it back over to Ann, and we can open things up for questions.
Yep, thanks, Matt. So as a reminder, please submit your questions using the Q&A tab, and we'll get to as many as we can. Our first question today is, how much does it cost to connect devices to Bosch's remote portal?
Am I taking that, or I guess
I'm have at it.
Okay. Well, it's actually free of charge. That's the good news. I mean, we think that this is really the way to go, to be honest, and we also see it as an integral part of our offering, essentially. I mean, we told you how important we think it is to have your devices connected, and that it actually is more secure. And yeah, and there's this whole world of opportunities which comes with it in the end of the day. And yeah, the basic services, all of that, all of which I have described, config manager connectivity, remote portal itself, video security app, and project assistant integration, that's all free of charge.
Yeah, just to piggyback on that a little bit, I think it's really cool that Bosch views this as part of the product. Asking about remote portal connectivity is like asking how much does the cover of the camera cost? It's part of the cost of the camera. It's all baked in. It is part of the product. And we believe so much that this is the future of the industry that it's included with the product.
All right, next question. I already have Bosch products in the field. Can I leverage these remote connectivity tools you've discussed today on these existing systems, or do I have to buy new hardware?
Yeah. I think I briefly mentioned it earlier. So pretty much, if your devices have firmware 640 and above, you're good to go. They'll be able to connect. For older systems, we have something else in the pipeline, which I'll briefly drop now. It's called the IoT Gateway, which we'll bring out next year. So that would also help you to connect older devices, because only the gateway connects to the internet, and the rest of the devices will actually stay offline in that sense. But more about that at a later point in time.
We love when we get a teaser as part of these technology talks. That's great. Also, just to add a little bit, the same is true of our intrusion panels as well. We've had cloud connectivity built into those panels for several years now. So this is not a brand new technology for Bosch, and many of the existing devices in the field are ready to go.
Are there network considerations like bandwidth or ports that need to be accounted for in order to connect my Bosch devices to remote portal?
Nothing really. I mean, if you have really, I don't know what the proper word in English is, but thin internet connection, then of course there might be challenges if you want to stream video, but it really depends on the use case. If it's just maybe the config manager connectivity for remote configuration and you're not streaming video, that would be possible. But in terms of configuration and settings, I tried to elaborate on that earlier. That's what we pretty much want to make as easy as possible. So you just need an internet connectivity, and the device is going to find its way out to the Bosch cloud, and that's the only place it's going to connect to. And yeah, as we said, it's not going to be reachable from the outside world unless you decide to trigger the connection. So it's not going to call home by default or doing any of these things.
Okay. Another question that came in, you may have addressed this already, but what is the connectivity from the cameras to the remote portal?
It's a TLS encrypted connection between the device and the cloud backend, based on mutual authentication between the device and the cloud backend. And as I said, that mutual authentication is also based on certificates which are baked into the camera at the time of production, so in the factory, and they cannot be retrofitted or imitated by someone at a later point in time. So that is pretty much the root, the root of the security of it.
If I may add to that briefly as well, there's also very little configuration, if any, that's required to establish that route. So some of the things that we've done previously with port forwarding or in-depth router configuration to establish a connection for outside use, all goes away with the remote portal connectivity. Once a client needs to connect to that camera that's been connected to the remote portal, they too are connecting to the remote portal. They don't actually go behind the firewall of the site in order to do that. Only remote portal can talk directly with the camera.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Robert and Matt. That's all the time we have for today. Thank you all for attending. We appreciate your time. This is our last Technology Talk session for 2020, but we hope you'll tune in again in 2021. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.